You probably think surviving Greek monsters is all about power. Wrong. In Greek myth, the deadliest monsters are not always the biggest, the ugliest, or even the strongest. Some kill you with force, some kill you with temptation, some don't even need to touch you. And the real nightmare is this: with some monsters, survival has almost nothing to do with courage. It has to do with whether the rules of the encounter were already rigged against you. So today, we're asking one brutal question. How long would you actually survive against Greek monsters? Not as a demigod, not with plot armor, not with Athena whispering strategy in your ear. Just you. And to make this interesting, we're not doing 20 monsters in a rush. We're going deep on 6 of the most iconic Greek threats, because the real horror isn't just what they are. It's how they kill, why they work, and what they reveal about the ancient Greek fear of chaos, pride, hunger, beauty, and fate. So let's count them down. From the one you might barely survive, to the one that ends you before you even understand what happened. Number 6. The Cyclops. If you're trapped with a Cyclops, you probably survive longer than you think. That's not because the Cyclops is weak, it's because the Cyclops is simple. And simplicity in monster logic can actually give you a chance. Take Polyphemus, the most famous Cyclops in Greek myth. He's huge, brutal, and absolutely strong enough to tear humans apart like they're breadsticks. But what makes him terrifying is not intelligence, it's appetite. He doesn't see human beings as rivals, he sees them as livestock. That is horror in its purest form, when a creature is so far above you physically that it doesn't even grant you the dignity of being an enemy. But here's where your survival time increases. A Cyclops is not subtle. It doesn't lure, it doesn't manipulate, it doesn't trap your mind. If you're with a Cyclops, the threat is immediate and obvious. That means you still get one thing that some Greek monsters never give you: clarity. And clarity is survival. You know you're in danger. You know you need a plan. You know that raw strength won't work. So the only possible path is trickery, deception, hiding, using the environment, exploiting the monster's ego or routine. That's exactly why Odysseus survives, not because he's stronger, but because Polyphemus has one giant weakness. He believes power is enough. He believes ownership of the cave means ownership of everyone inside it. He never imagines his food might think its way out. So how long would you survive? Honestly, maybe a few hours. Maybe a day if the Cyclops doesn't eat you first. Your survival depends almost entirely on whether you panic, because against a Cyclops, panic kills faster than the monster does. The deeper terror of the Cyclops is not magical doom. It's the stripping away of civilization, hospitality, law, mercy, dialogue. None of that matters in the cave. You're back in the oldest human fear of all. Something bigger than you has decided what you are. And what you are is food. Number 5. The Minotaur. Now this one is tricky, because the Minotaur is not just a monster, it's a system. People remember the Minotaur as a half-man, half-bull nightmare hidden in a labyrinth, but the real horror isn't only the creature, it's the design of the trap around it. If you're sent into the labyrinth, you are not being tested, you are being processed. The maze is part of the monster is part of the maze, and together they create a killing machine. This matters because it changes the question from, can you beat it, to, can you even reach the point where fighting matters? In open ground, maybe you could delay death. The Minotaur is powerful, aggressive, probably faster than it looks, and driven by animal violence. But in a maze, you're already losing. You're tired, disoriented, trapped in a structure built specifically to destroy your sense of direction. Every wrong turn adds fear. Every repeated corridor drains your hope. And by the time the Minotaur reaches you, you're not facing it at full strength. You're facing it after the maze has softened you up. That's why I rank the Minotaur above the Cyclops. The Cyclops gives you a visible enemy. The Minotaur gives you an environment designed to help the enemy, and that is much darker. Because this is no longer just a monster attack. It's architecture used as psychological warfare. The ancient Greeks understood something brutal here, Sometimes the deadliest thing is not the beast itself, it's the system that delivers you to it exhausted. So how long do you survive? Longer than with some monsters, maybe. You might spend hours wandering. You might avoid direct contact for a while. But that extra time is not hope, it's suspense. The maze stretches out your fear until the final encounter feels inevitable. The Minotaur doesn't just kill bodies, it kills orientation, confidence, and the belief that escape is possible. Number 4. The Sirens. The Sirens are where survival gets truly unfair, because now the monster is not attacking your body first, it's attacking your judgment. And once judgment is gone, survival becomes almost impossible. That's what makes the Sirens so much darker than people realize. Popular culture often reduces them to beautiful singing women who lure sailors, but that description actually hides the real terror. The Sirens don't win because they're attractive. They win because they understand that human beings are vulnerable to desire, not just desire for pleasure, but desire for knowledge, closure, pride, and meaning. Their song is not random, it is targeted. It promises something you already wanted, maybe answers, maybe glory, maybe comfort, maybe the feeling that your suffering finally means something, and that is why the Sirens are one of the most sophisticated monsters in all mythology. They do not overpower you, they collaborate with the weakest part of your own mind. This is what makes your survival time so short. If you hear them unprotected, the encounter is basically over the moment the song enters your head. Your body may still be moving for a few minutes, your ship may still be intact. But psychologically, you are already gone. You are no longer trying to survive, you are trying to get closer. That is a horrifying idea. A monster so effective that you don't flee it, you pursue it. So could you survive? Realistically, almost no chance. Unless someone else already knew the trick and physically restrained you, your own will becomes the weapon used against you. And that's why the Sirens rank this high. A Cyclops can be blinded, a Minotaur can be stabbed, but the Sirens make you complicit in your own destruction. That is nightmare-level design. Number 3. Medusa. Medusa is one of the most misunderstood monsters in Greek mythology because people treat her like a boss battle. She is not a boss battle, she is an execution mechanic. The reason Medusa is so terrifying is that there is almost no fight in the normal sense. Most monsters attack you through action. Bite, crush, devour, drown. Medusa attacks you through a rule. Look at her and you lose, that's it. And the simplicity of that rule is what makes her so lethal. Against most threats, courage helps. Against Medusa, courage can actually get you killed faster. If your instinct is to face danger head-on, you die. If your instinct is to just attack, you die. If you panic and look directly at the source of the threat, you die. This makes her one of the purest expressions of Greek fatalism. Some dangers are not defeated by bravery. They are defeated by discipline, distance, preparation, and the humility to avoid direct confrontation. That's why Perseus doesn't defeat Medusa by being stronger. He defeats her with tools, reflection, divine help, and strategy. Now think about what that means for you. You don't have Athena. You don't have a mirrored shield. You don't have divine guidance. So how long do you survive? Seconds, maybe less. Because the first human reaction to a threat is usually to look at it. And with Medusa, that instinct is fatal. The darker theme beneath Medusa is that she represents beauty, fear, violation, and punishment all tangled together. Her mythology is complicated, tragic, and deeply uncomfortable. She is not just monster equals bad. She is a reminder that in Greek myth, monstrosity is often born from divine cruelty and human helplessness, which makes her even darker, because she is both a killer and the evidence of a broken world. Number 2. Scylla. Scylla is not just a monster, she is the price, and that is why she is one of the darkest beings in all of Greek mythology. Scylla's horror isn't that she attacks, it's that her attack is almost built into the map. She lives in a narrow passage. Ships must pass near her or face something even worse. She is not the storm you accidentally hit. She is the monster waiting exactly where difficult choices become unavoidable. That means survival is not only about your strength, it is about leadership, sacrifice, and guilt. In Homer's world, Scylla is monstrous beyond reason. Multiple heads, rows of teeth, impossible reach, a thing more like concentrated predation than a living creature. But what makes her unforgettable is the emotional logic of the encounter. If you go near her, 6 of your people die. Not maybe, not if she feels like it, they die. This is toll booth horror, and it's devastating because it transforms the meaning of command. If you're alone, maybe you're just unlucky. But if you're responsible for others, Scylla forces you into one of the ugliest roles in mythology. The person who chooses a route knowing it will cost lives. That's why Scylla is more hopeless than almost every monster below her. She's not a duel. She's not a trap you fully avoid. She's a built-in loss condition. So how long do you survive? If you're a random sailor, maybe you survive the passage, unless you're one of the 6. That's the cruel thing. Scylla does not create equal danger. She creates selective doom. For some people, survival is instant. For others, it ends in the jaws of a thing they barely had time to see. And for the survivors, the monster doesn't leave when the ship moves on. It stays in memory. Because Scylla is not just a creature that kills. She is a creature that turns survival into guilt. Number 1. Charybdis. And here we are. The Greek monster you are least likely to survive is not the one with the most heads, the sharpest teeth, or the coolest design. It's Charybdis. Because Charybdis is not really a creature in the human sense at all. It is annihilation wearing the mask of nature. A massive whirlpool, a swallowing force, a seaborne void that devours entire ships. And what makes Charybdis the darkest is the same thing that makes earthquakes, black holes, and tidal waves so terrifying. It does not care that you exist. That is a deeper horror than malice. Malice at least acknowledges you. Malice means you mattered enough to be hated. But Charybdis is indifferent, and indifference makes survival feel microscopic. You are not being hunted. You are being erased by a process larger than yourself. This is why bravery means almost nothing here. You cannot stab a whirlpool. You cannot intimidate it. You cannot beg it. You cannot want it more. All the heroic instincts mythology usually rewards become irrelevant in front of Charybdis. You're left with timing, distance, luck, and maybe divine favor. And you don't have divine favor. So how long do you survive? Probably not long enough to understand what's happening. That's what puts Charybdis above Scylla for me. Scylla is targeted death. Charybdis is total death. Scylla takes 6. Charybdis takes the ship, the crew, the direction, the structure, everything. One is a butcher, the other is an event horizon, and that is the ultimate Greek horror. Not the monster that hates you, the monster that reduces you to something too small to matter. So if we rank these Greek monsters by how long you would actually survive, from longest to shortest, it looks like this. The Cyclops gives you the slimmest chance if you can think under pressure. The Minotaur lets the maze kill you before the beast even arrives. The Sirens destroy your mind before your body ever reaches the rocks. Medusa ends you almost instantly if instinct beats discipline. Scylla turns survival into selective sacrifice. And Charybdis? Charybdis doesn't fight you. It deletes the entire idea that you were ever in control. So now I want your verdict. Which Greek monster do you think you'd survive the longest? And which one is the most hopeless of all? Because in Greek mythology, the darkest monsters are not always the strongest. Sometimes, they're just the ones that make survival feel impossible before the fight even begins. If you want part 2, I can do ranking every Greek monster by how painful your death would be. That one gets even darker.